0-1. Kobe, I'm sorry for stealing your point, but I had to jump in. We've seen Yasuo Gnar before. Misfits did it, and it lost.
It did lose against TSM. It was fine in the laning phase though, but they never got the Yasuo into teamfights early. Let's see. Huni right now can look to try and kill the Gnar in his lane, or he can look to roam with SKT, especially with the Gragas, and then just force fights together. Good engage from a Gragas, sets up a good ulti from a Yasuo, and suddenly someone on Samsung will die.
And even though we put so much emphasis on knocking down the first turret and the extremity to which Samsung was able to use that gold to orchestrate the way the entire game went, SK Telecom puts all of their changes into the solo lanes here.
And so much confidence in Huni.
Yep.
We saw in the last episode of Eyes on Worlds how Huni had the gangplank against the Shen. It didn't work, and Koeman was like, listen, this is your fault. We trusted in you with this pick. The same thing is happening now. They're saying we can take the same draft almost all the way down to the last few picks, and Huni, you can actually counter pick this Gnar and beat it with Yasuo.
And I also just add on how crazy it is that SK Telecom opt to ban that Zac instead of, you know, the Jarvan for Ambition. So he ends up getting one of the premier picks for the entire tournament because of the range of the engage and how annoying Zac was for them.
And it is Ambition's second Jarvan game of Worlds 2017, and we are on to Summoner's Rift, and that champion on your screen right there, Huni, wants to be a champion himself. He came close 2 years ago, world semi-finalist with Fnatic. That was the European Dream Team. Best Europe's done in quite a while. And he joined Immortals on North America and never quite made it to Worlds. Came back to Korea, the team he had practiced for before, now in the World Final.
Huni has always been such a controversial figure because when he dominates so heavily on picks like this. However, when they fail in such a spectacular manner that he gets an incredible amount of flack.
Yeah, and let's then talk about the risk of picking Yasuo now that you mentioned the flack he might get. Because Yasuo in teamfights against things like Janna is very hard to play, so Huni needs to do well in the early game. We should see SKT have Peanut and Faker play on top side to make sure Huni is getting ahead.
And so much about Yasuo in the matchup is abusing the mobility advantage because you want to take advantage of this Gnar when he's in mini form. Yasuo has always been this counter pick because you get to go in for these contras to try and influence that Huni matchup.
Exactly, and it suddenly means Huni can play very aggressive early on in the laning phase, knowing that his jungler is around. Ambition didn't get blue.
Yeah, it also means that it is incredibly predictable for the answer here. As soon as you take away topside blue from Ambition, he would want to go answer, steal away SKT's blue. However, the quick movement from Bang and Wolf, as well as Faker being on this rise and the power of this mid lane matchup controls it.
We did talk about Misfits before with the Yasuo. Therefore, I want to mention a jungle path you can take in Ambition's situation if you want to gank top. And that is do your wolf camp and then sneak behind the blue buff and jump over the Baron wall and appear behind Huni to surprise him. Max Lord did it. Right now though, Ambition is just farming and he's very low.
Got no mana. He went for the machete, started U10-2 on Jarvan. There is no gank coming in for Ambition for a while without this blue buff. Nice little jukes play coming out from Kube. Gets a nice trade on Huni. Pushing her turret though.
Yeah, let's step back a little bit and look at just this lane on the top side. We talked about the Yasuo and how he wants to abuse the movement here. You want to leave one of the minions available for your E back out when the Gnar is approaching that mega form. So you can see him as soon as the bar started to charge up, went back out, so there was no answer trade. And as you mentioned, Trade, the blue denial from Ambition is incredibly important for Jarvan's early clear. Now he can't support that top lane matchup. Everything is so intertwined here and really does affect the solo lane matchups.
And Yasuo can also block the boomerang from Gnar, so there's no reduced cooldown on it. You're not landing any good poke, and then Yasuo is just safe, jumping around the minion wave and constantly trying to threaten you in mini Gnar. Typically though, on the professional stage, we don't see kills level 2 and 3 in just pure 1v1 laning. Huni is getting control at the moment, but Cube is playing it very safe and not dying.
Taking a look at the other sides of the map now, glancing into the bot lane, the exact same 2-on-2 as before, and this time around Samsung Galaxy much better in farm than they were in the first game. They were down close to 8 or so at this point last game, so a better looking 2-on-2. Big left over the mid lane as well, and Faker right now going equal against Crown as Ambition, trying to get some vision control to make sure that Malzahar stays safe. Once again, it's double TP to a single as Crown is bringing that teleport to Faker's heel.
And I'd like to talk about why Crown loves this Malzahar so much. This summer split has been very tough for Crown as a player. He's not been able to challenge for the spot of the best mid laner in the world. He's been shaking the laning phase, ganked very often. Fairly poor synergy between him and Ambition as well. So what Samsung have done now is they've found a champion that brings hard engage. A champion that just wants to survive the laning phase. And when you put Crown on that, as long as he's not dying early game, he will be extremely useful in the mid to late game, like we saw in the last game here. And that's what they're trying to do again with this Malzahar.
And so far he's surviving. Down 8 farm right now, but you saw him in the team fights previously. Did way more damage than Faker.
And meanwhile, you talk about Faker, and you need to look at the other side of this matchup. Faker is 7-0 all-time on Rise at Worlds. And yes, this is multiple variations of Rise. He's been reworked, and Faker still finds success on this champion. Now, one of the things I talked to you, Official, between last game and this game, as Faker goes for a trade.
Pretty good at League of Legends, gets a nice trade down on the ground, puts him down to about 1/3, walks away, and just one-shots the Voidlings.
Yeah, one of the things we talked about, though, was Faker and mobility, and how Samsung were able to deny him mobility as far as the Talia and the Galio bans last time around. But Rise does bring an element of that with his ultimate.
And I know you hate Rise as a champion because he's been losing so many games at Worlds, but I like it when Faker plays it.
Yeah.
Because Faker is very good at using it aggressively, especially the ulti, and now he's on the way top.
There's a few seconds till Kuve's flashes back up, and he's going to be able to walk away from the turret in that time. He's got less than 5 seconds to go, but now it's turret pressure up here with no Gnar without teleport to defend it.
And this is what we talked about early on in the game here, how Peanut and Faker will play towards the top side to make sure Huni is winning.
Exactly, you have to always keep in mind the overall big picture game plan for SK Telecom, and they're sticking to that game plan. When you pick a pick like this, you have to gain that advantage, and they're whittling it out, carving out this area on the top side, now below 50% health on the top turret.
And even though you're not seeing kills come through because Kuve backed up in time, it's SKT in this small microcosm winning in the way that Samsung was previously. Bloodless maybe, but knocking down the turret, getting giant farm leads, and letting the split push actually happen. Huni, with the advantageous matchup, can flip the script of what Kuve did. TP coming in now for a fight on Ambition, or at the very least, it could be the chance that, some more turret pressure as this Jarvan's forced away.
So Huni going to use his deep teleport there. Still will get back to lane. Looks like he might actually lose out on a minion or two for that attempt. But they do secure the Gromp for Peanut, and again, still that foothold, this blue buff quadrant of Samsung's jungle. SKT keep up the pressure.
Now to swap it down to the bottom lane here, if you play a champion who can build BF Sword early against a champion who likes to build Rage Blade like Faros, it's very good for you to actually recall when you can get a BF Sword and a couple of long swords, and this other guy will get a recurve bow, maybe a pickaxe, and also his boots. And suddenly, with all that raw AD from the BF Sword, you can start winning trades. Around mid lane, Faker's trying to win a trade.
Crown not willing to burn the ultimate as Peanut is coming around, but gonna kite away cleanly enough. Here comes the knock-up, the ulti across the flash over the wall though, and not a lot of damage gonna go towards Faker. The re-engage is not gonna be much, they all back out.
And this is what I love about Faker. It's not just mechanics, it's how smart he is. He knows there's a chance Crown will flash ult him and he can die. So his flash came in so early, matching Crown's flash, meaning he's actually staying alive on the other side of the wall here. So many mid laners would just have got ulted in place and potentially died to the Jarvan.
Yeah, it's a funny thing talking about Faker, especially to a lot of newer players that enter the scene. They always ask, what makes Faker so great? How has he been the best player for so long? You know, if you think about how many patches and how many different metas he has found success on, I always come back to how well he's able to predict enemies' plays and how well he's able to think into the future and cut off your best strategy seconds before you're able to execute it.
It always feels like he knows slightly more than every other mid laner about the matchups he's playing. And he's often introducing new mid lane picks as well. Let's see what happens here.
Introducing Huni to the mid lane as well, looking for a pick out of that with a knock-up. The chains of crowd control land in beautifully. First blood comes in for SKT.
Such a nice play here, using the advantage top so Huni can leave his lane, and then this surprise and no flash Malzahar with that Rise ulti.
Huni does not have teleport from the last time they used it deep into the jungle though, so Kuve will push one wave into top side. I think they are happy to pay that price. Faker's Rise, now with first blood, with the CS lead, and more importantly, control over the center of the map. Here is the Realm Warp that starts it all, Phil.
Yeah, it's a great setup with Peanut coming in as well to land the knock-up that sets up everything here for SKT. And Crown, poor guy, just wanted to get his little minions to push that wave and then back away. Instantly gets punished.
Now we reset on the map, and you can see Faker individually up 1,000 gold in his matchup. Almost the entirety of the SKT gold lead is in the hands of the best player in the world, the one who's got his own prize skin. Not using it because he doesn't tend to use skins. His own fun little quirk about the game, but looking at the chance of a gank. Ambition's coming around. They know it's a flashless rise, but he's got heal and he walks away.
Yeah, they don't know if Peanut is in the jungle waiting for this play here. Meanwhile, we just saw the gold in the bottom lane. Like, Bang is almost on 3,000. And I talked about this before, how you really want to go back and get your BF sword and your long swords when the enemy team is just getting attack speed and you can start winning lane. That's what happened in last game, where Ruler took over the lane and got the first tower. It's not happening now. They're just farming. Bang is going to farm for his full Rage Blade before he wants to even do anything. Like, he's so happy at the moment. They're not losing anything in the bot lane.
Yeah, that's the dream scenario, Freak.
Anything between now and the next 400 gold is like you feel terrible with a Rage Blade because you got a Blasting Wand and a Marks.
Yeah, ugh.
But if you get to that 3,600, I believe, the full cost of the item, it's like the perfect power spike. It's 400 more than an Essence Reaver, but if he gets there, then all credit to Bang for controlling the lane.
Exactly, and Samsung are not able to play bottom side because Ambition is struggling in the jungle. He needs to catch up on farm, and he needs to also be ready to protect top side. Otherwise, Huni just takes that tower. Look how low the top lane tower already is.
Now, if we take a moment to look further in this game, SK Telecom could set up a play around this top turret, but Samsung have always been so good at utilizing the next step for their opponents sort of as bait and setting up that counter opportunity 30 seconds in advance, which is the duration of every minion spawn. Here comes SK Telecom, control warding down bottom, and Faker roams from mid lane.
And you just saw the forced recall out of Ruler, who was actually shy about 100 gold short of what would have been Essence Reaver. Peanut now here as well, and even though that gank went so well for Huni, and they got Faker that first blood, first turret might fall bot lane instead.
It is perfect here from SKT's side. Actually, we might get a fight.
Good body slam, but look at the burst damage out of Ambition with the Yoki. Thunderlord's adding in as well. The chance of a TP for Kube canceled out, forces 3 flashes out of SKT.
A lot of flashes blown right here, but SKT continue pushing in the bottom lane. Now Ruler's back though with items. Nothing on Bang's side. He wants to go back to base as fast as possible. This will give Ruler a chance to get some damage on the bot lane tower.
It's going to be a slow recall as well. He had to kill off a cannon wave before the back without items. That's the slowest way you can do this. He'll be back late.
Ruler here trying to push up and see if he gets any of those late recalls. He actually checks that Tri-Bush blind, but still gets the fake out here. And a Wolf actually stops his recall, delaying it slightly.
Big power spike. Frick, you are an AD carry, man.
Yeah.
You see this in the bottom lane.
That feels amazing.
It's the best feeling ever.
Now, let me set up how big of an explosion of gold is about to happen, though, because we went over how low the top turret health for Samsung is. The bottom as well, setting up an Ardent Sensor plus Rage Blade buy could again be another visit from Peanut, from Faker, who has that important control of the mid lane, just to get these objectives. You don't even have to follow through on a dive. You don't even have to follow through on a full roam. As long as they threaten and are able to get the objective, this gold lead that SKT have right now without any turrets could just explode off the map and be the opposite story we had in game number 1.
Yeah, that's why you gotta respect that SKT go into this draft in game 2 and say, yeah, the first 3 picks were fine. We're gonna do the same thing again. This time we're not gonna lose the bot lane tower early. And then they prepare this Yasuo against Cuve's Gnar to now have a winning top side as well here. I like the adaptations with Ryze and Yasuo, and I like the fact that Bang and Wolf are able to go even in this bot lane.
Put the faith in Huni, so far so good. He got that assist on first blood. Mountain Drake spawning, but Samsung Galaxy not that same pressure over bot lane. And again, same matchup, and yet SKT doing much better now in the 2-on-2 as far as overall lane control. They got a bit of help from Peanut, of course, that's nice as well. But this game, though so much of it is similar, looking so differently, well aimed for SKT.
And we're seeing also Ambition on this job, and here, second time, as you said, during the tournament. First time he played it was against WE in the first game of the semifinals. He couldn't find any early ganks. It was really too effective for him, and it kind of fell apart for him and the team. This game, he's been under so much pressure. While Ambition is a fantastic shot caller and a big leader for the team, he's not always the most active jungler early game.
And this is a little risky for SKT. They don't have summoners on bot.
Flash to the knockup, they're gonna go for Bang on this one. Look at the damage up, but he's got no way out. Ambition traps him in, but look at the damage back from Faker. He just survives the entirety of it. And out goes Samsung Galaxy, 3 flashes down.
Huni comes down to the bottom lane and completes his teleport though, so SKT have to commit to all the resources in this area. the Mountain Drake should be taken in toll in exchange for this top lane turret. Cube is whacking away.
But so important they keep the TP on this Gnar here. SKT, yes, they get the one Drake, but no kills at all.
Well, flash advantage will go back towards SKT, though next time Peanut's got it, there's no one really able to get away from it. Only Crown and Kube have those tools.
And you can tell, Huni, as soon as the bottom lane play fizzles out, he just makes a beeline, runs straight back to the top side to try and save the rest of this turret so that SKT don't give up that first turret bonus. They've worked so tirelessly to get themselves into a position to capitalize on that advantage.
But at this point here, SKT should play around top side, get that first tower down, unleash Huni in the top lane, instead of having all these plays around the bottom side, because that's actually allowing Samsung to get back in this game here and not fall further behind. No turret just yet, and this top lane tower's been low for a long time.
It has been low. It's been an interesting look for SKT because the mantra coming in was Huni, play for yourself, get you the 1v1 matchups, and yet his big plays have been coming down to the mid lane to get first blood for Faker, coming down to the bot lane to help secure the first Drake, and he's going equal in just the lane itself.
Definitely credit to Samsung for not allowing that explosion to happen that we talked about in the possible early game opening here that SKT were trying to pry away. Now, though, we've got almost a full reset for SK Telecom as they're able to go purchase, and the first item timings are coming through even more than the Ardent Rage Blade that we've been talking so much about. You know, Huni here, as well with the Phantom Dancer, really gets to go in.
Yeah, and I think on the other side here in the top lane, Cube going Black Cleaver first is actually fairly risky. I love getting the cooldown reduction as well, but not rushing Frozen Mallet is tricky. You don't right now like feel very tanky, and Huni's all in, especially once he hits level 11. It's something you've got to respect. Like typically when I see Gnar versus carries, it's Frozen Mallet and a lot of early armor to try and make sure you don't die, and then you just kind of whittle them down slowly.
There are basically two paths right now for SKT to walk down, because they're the ones with the priority, mainly because of all the control they've been able to get around Faker, but they can either go that top lane path you mentioned. Well, here we go mid.
A couple of barrels, but none of the big triggers pulled out. Ambition able to flag and drag out to safety, no big deal. Minions cleared out, but a low health jungler gives control back to SKT.
Faker right now able to roam with Peanut there, looking for that top lane tower we talked about. Cuba, he knows he's trying to get away as fast as possible.
Realm Warp comes in, they're committing to it.
Here comes the attempt there, right behind, gets back over the wall, the flash to get away, and he's got a long run ahead of him. Up and down the river, the bot lane's nowhere near, running away from Peanut.
All flashing!
They're gonna keep up the chase there, and they get the slow!
The ult is gonna land pretty perfectly there, rooted in place, that's gonna be the kill. Faker getting the second and only kills of the game.
It all starts in the mid lane where they get Faker in control, and then he roams with the jungler. That's gonna be first tower now for Huni in the top lane. And SKT, we saw this just before here. When they win the early game at Worlds, they're 8-0. They're looking so good in the second game.
Let's see if they can keep that one going. The paths to victory getting wider and easier to navigate as they just machete back the vines and realize that there's daylight at the end of that tunnel, and they can tie up this series 1-1 if they keep going. 3,000 gold lead so far, immaculate for them. No Drakes given up, no turrets, no deaths either. We might be going back-to-back with bloodless games if it keeps going this way. Both these teams very controlled in their play.
Yeah, as we can see from the mini-map, this was telegraphed from SKT for the play they wanted to go for, but the willingness to blow these flashes and Peanut getting just in range for the slow landing on his barrel sets up the perfect ultimate there. Linkube was about to go for the hop, but didn't have it in time, and they're able to capitalize completely because even more important than the kill, the objectives. Top lane turret is down, plus the Rift Tail. That means SKT can finally start to chain those objectives.
And they're still defending the bot lane tower. That's where Samsung are looking so often. They want Ruler to get this turret here.
EQ's down. Mickey uses to run away a little bit. The flash chases in, looking for the spray, but in comes the duel, and look at Bang! What? And he does not have a way out for this one. The flash was already used. Barrier buffers some time. In comes Crown, and they're going to find their first kill of the game. Kube staying alive as well. The chase forward. They got the root into Faker. Samsung Galaxy. The flash tornado. Core JJ secures a double kill for Ruler.
Miscommunication on SK Telecom as Bang flashes forward for the ultimate into 3 Samsung members, and the rest of SK Telecom not committing. What a big dissonance there we've seen within the team.
And Kura, he was ready. He TP'd in behind SKT as soon as this fight started. When they knew, okay, Ambition, he's getting caught in that dragon pit, they turned it around.
So many times we've highlighted the difference between Huni and Cube, and Cube joining these fights so quickly. Here's Ambition on the run, though.
Okay, so now Samsung are calling, we can fight this one. TP comes in, Bang is in the Dragon Pit trying to kill Ambition while Peanut and Faker were looking towards Crown. Meanwhile, Huni's taking a red buff, he's not TPing into the fight, and this was over before it even started.
Yeah, that has to be maybe a team call there, not to spend the teleport, but very different ideas about what they wanted to do in that play as your AD carry flashing forward on Varus. It can be a strategy, but not if you're bringing only 4 members to a 5-man fight.
Sure, but Huni's going to bring a second member to a 1-man fight and knock down that bot lane turret. So 2 solo turret kills for Huni. Individually, he is massive, 7,900 gold. More than anyone else on the opposing team, and 1,500 over his opposing member. So SKT can still rely on this Yasuo.
And let's see if Huni values getting even stronger individually and goes for Infinity Edge, or if he wants to be stronger for the next fight and goes for GA early on. It's something you can do on Yasuo, so when you join the first team fight, you don't just get one shot instantly. The GA helps quite a lot when you are playing aggressive in the front line.
Yeah, aggression can be SKT able to pull the trigger a bit more frequently with these fights, especially when they do bring Huni with them. Mid lane traded back and forth for now as the next Drake has spawned, and looks like mountain number 2 for SKT seems likely. No one here to push this. Crown staying topside. Does have teleport around.
And there are a few wards behind SKT, but Samsung not in a position to fight.
Body Slam Explosive Cast does not do much, so the ultimates are down. Here comes the re-engage once again for Ambition. Wants to add the damage.
Oh!
Look at the blade Colorado Ruler. Do they have the
my God!
triple knockup? The follow through for Cuba. And he's going to fight for help, but still 1 death comes through. The suppression comes in. 4 kills already. 1 man stands alive, and he's going to fall. The ace for Samsung Galaxy.
That was so insane from Samsung. There was so much damage coming in from Ruler, and Ambition bought so much time for the rest of his team. Crown joins after. Cube comes in from the flank, and that was perfect.
Samsung stand tall again around the Dragon Pit, and this time the rewards are immense. After the clean ace there, they're able to pick up Baron.
SKT are 8-0 when they win the early game during this tournament. SKT are still one of the best team fighting teams in the world, and yet we are watching Samsung turn it around 2 fights in a row.
Credit Ambition for his shot calling, but mechanically that fight was insane. A huge ultimate. The second flag and drag, the 3-man knockup to hit confirm all of Cuve's entire combo. It was beautiful.
I just can't wait for the replay. Like,
It's here.
There we go. Like, this was so amazing to watch here. Ambition and Samsung are moving in. They know that Crown is not there yet, but he can TP in. They realize Ruler's getting caught, so Ambition engages, gets onto 3 members with his ulti, and look at the damage from Ruler here. Keeps everyone in place. Ambition flashes out to then jump back to his flag and knock them up again. And then Cube is here.
It's so much, again, about how the parts of Samsung are working together. That coordinated re-engage from Ambition and Cube was so seamless to lock up the SK Telecom backline. And you can see how good that feels for Cube himself to follow.
This is the player that got counterpicked. SKT chose red side to give Huni the 1v1 against him, and it had looked good for much of this game, but clearly feeling comfortable on the Gnar.
And while Ambition on this job and has not been a big pick for him during the tournament, we are seeing why so many teams value the job, and especially when you play against champions without dashes. There were no flashes on the side of Bang and Wolf, so when they got ulted by Ambition, they were stuck in place. And that allowed Ruler to land his CC, that allowed Cube to land his ulti, and the Jarvan pick that was left till the end of the draft paid off big time in this team fight.
See now bot lane starting to fall. The turret lead, the first of the game now. Samsung Galaxy finds their 3rd. And SKT's mountain breaks don't mean much if you're not winning in map control anymore. If there's no objectives to fight, this lead now over 3,000 up. Huni's still trying to put the game on his back. Infinity Edge second item. 100% crit chance thanks to the Yasuo passive. He can melt any champion he duels if he doesn't die first.
Cube does go with the Randuin's himself to try and mitigate that a little bit. But meanwhile, the Baron buff is what's really important here. As 24 minutes in, Samsung are continuing to pressure on the secondary line of turrets.
Also the thing about Samsung's draft here, with this Janna. They're ready for Huni to join fights. They can use the Monsoon to disengage after the ulti is over, and that's where Huni's build might hurt him, because yes, he has a lot of damage, but as you highlighted, Frick, he dies very, very quickly, and he needs to play it perfect to get back in this game.
Yeah, the Janna, not to mention, one of the favorite targets for Malzahar is melee champions, and this is a DPS Yasuo. If he's brought into the team fights, that can definitely lock him up.
And all the key damage tools of Malzahar are immune to wind wall. W, E, and R all pass through that. They're not projectiles. It all shows up on top of you. He can block Ruler's damage, but not Crown's, and Crown's pretty big.
He is, and that's the big thing about Crown's role on this team. We talked about earlier how it's been a rough split for him, but as long as he can click R in a team fight on a key target, the rest of Samsung can then actually take down that target and win the fight. So Crown is less of a superstar carry and more of a support at this point.
All right, once again, we should get another vision toggle, because just like that, 2 back-to-back team fights for Samsung. They take the entire second line of turrets, starve almost all of the vision from SK Telecom out.
Lone ward down there, that means nothing.
The little freak ward there is
perfect.
Is the only survivor, but the complete blanket control here for Samsung after picking up that second team fight, after picking up the objective, really led, again, by ambition. His in-game leadership has been one of the biggest things.
Yeah, by ambition and by the fact that this Samsung lineup has gotten another year under the belt. A lot more experience. These 5 guys were playing against SKT last year in the big final. Lost the first 2 games, looked nervous, were all over the place. They're looking like the team who's more in control and ready to turn around the big fights, especially Ruler on this Xayah. He was a rookie last year when he made it to the World Finals. Now he's not a veteran just yet, but he's getting there.
Yeah, they're looking confident and they're acting confident as well. You see, even before the game started, in Ambition's interview he talked about last year, we had to go reach for extraneous picks here, try and surprise SK Telecom, but this year, we are the better team.
And so far they've shown it. You look at the top 8 and it's very clear Samsung came in looking like the favorites based on gameplay. And it's so funny, I've seen people like give analysts flack for quoting history, but no matter how bad SKT have looked at various years, they always did manage to turn it on. And the question is, when will be the year where someone finally holds up to that level of metal, really? And maybe this is the one where Samsung Galaxy say, look, we know you're clutch, but we are just better than you pound for pound across the team, and this might be the time.
This would be the first time where Samsung are then able to say, you know what, this is a playoff game, and we're showing up big time. This team in the LCK, they lose almost every playoff game they're playing. They never made an LCK final with this lineup. And now they might win the World Championships.
I mean, the first time Samsung Galaxy with this squad played on a really big stage for something important was the World Final last year. There's no LCK finals to go for. There's no huge crowds for like the regional qualifiers for them, and they finally came to Worlds. And when they were there, they made it all the way to the very top of it. And here, you saw them get on the big stage. They 3-0'd Longju in their first best of 5 at Worlds this year. 3-1 against WWE, which was the regular season champion from China. Now up against SK Telecom, the reigning world champions, and they keep passing these tests so far.
And they kept talking about revenge against SKT in this big final. And they kept also talking about how they didn't have to change their play style. They're playing the correct way at the moment. They're going to pick exactly the same way they've been doing so far during playoffs, and we're seeing that here. Good bot lane, try and get Cube in a good match up top. Didn't work in this one game, but then he joins teamfights instead, and he shows up.
That's why it's so impressive. If we think back to Champions Select, Samsung, the confidence showing here as well. Happy to run back, and they're posing the question to SK Telecom, who are not used to having to be the ones to answer, because they are the back-to-back defending champions, but they haven't been able to find that answer thus far, and Samsung closing in once again.
We gotta then look at, okay, how can SKT get back in this game here? Big wombo combo can happen when you have the Gragas ult combined with the Yasuo. I think actually going for Core JJ with that combo might be the way in, because if you don't kill the Janna instantly, Monsoon knocks the Yasuo away, resets the entire fight, and then Samsung will struggle. Oh, sorry, SKT will struggle.
They're going to struggle for some fight in the top side right now, looking for the play, but not going to get it. A good silence out of Crown, and Baron up in 15 seconds. And we've seen this song and dance before. Samsung Galaxy playing the vision game for the Baron secures.
And those right there, those are actually plays to highlight when you're playing this strategy, because the important part for Samsung is not crumbling when SKT make that attempt at a pick. Here's that vision that you're talking about around the Baron. They're very thorough in cleaning it up.
SKT can't see anything. They don't know the red buff being secured. There's a barrel to watch vision. Suddenly, Peanut silenced to half HP. Crown's got ulti.
And how do you start a fight if you can't see anything? How do you pick the correct target if you don't even know where the members from Samsung are on the map? Yeah, you know, they will be on the top side, but that's not enough. And ulti here used by Ruler.
That's the right choice by Bang, though. Trade ult for ult, get Peanut in for the next one.
Look at Ambition, though. Looking for a potential fight.
Well, it's a 6,000 gold lead. They could pull the trigger. Kuve's here. Knock up, not quick, gonna land on Peanut. Gonna trade the flash for an ultimate. Cataclysm is down. A zoning silence. Now, is there going to be a re-engage? Kuve on the chase, but Peanut's got nowhere to go as Kuve flashed to the other side of the barrel. Two more autos. Doesn't land the clock or the iceberg or whatever it is. Peanut jukes to the side.
But that's a huge chunk out of Peanut, the jungler, so they're starting up the Baron. They're going to try and draw SK Telecom into the darkness.
Huni is here, though. He's waiting for that big knock-up. Oh, Faker's ulti.
Round number 2, not gonna happen thanks to the silence, and there was just no way in the vision. If you had it or not, it didn't matter. As Baron Nash has been secured by Ambition. 2 straight clean pickups. Here comes the Blade Caller, really getting a bit low. Redemption gets some health back, but the fight might still continue. Ambition waiting on the wings, does not go in.
Samsung able to utilize the health that they chunked out of Peanut and the vision that they had set up prior to earn a huge objective. Even with a little bit early of a smite there from Ambition, they 100% secure this objective, stopping them at the Pixel Brush.
2 games in a row where Samsung understand how to take over the mid lane before going to the Baron. They know if Huni is sitting in the side lane, well then Yasuo loses quite some value for the team fight because he won't be there for the engage. He won't be there for the initial knock-up from a Gragas because he needs to TP into the fight. That's why Ambition are so confident just starting it, engage onto SKT, force them away, take control mid, and then go Baron right after. It's the same setup every single time, and it gives so little counterplay.
Such an impressive series here from Samsung so far. And a different story this time around. Peanut gonna have to run over for his life.
Maybe a bit aggressive, or excessive, I should say, on the ultimate right there. Was afraid of getting chased on, but otherwise had good jukes to not ever be rooted by the Blade Caller. Requires 3 feathers and moves sideways nicely. Mid lane, though, back under siege. Samsung Galaxy, we've seen it before.
Yeah, Baron number 2 is the key to open up the SK Telecom base. Brick by brick, Samsung Galaxy are trying to dismantle the SK Telecom dynasty and build a foundation for their own.
The way they're doing it is either by outplaying early game like game 1 or outplaying in team fights like in game 2. SKT have been trying to go for these drafts that wanted to win in the early game and then snowball, but it's backfired twice now in this series. Huni is still with the team here, hoping they get a good engage. Try and one-shot Core JJ if you can.
Ruler, nerves of steel, but gets rooted. QSS is away. Ultimate still up for the next disengage tool, but
meanwhile, keep your eyes on the mini-map. 2 lanes pushing here for Samsung. Minions in the mid lane, and SK Telecom have to flee.
on into this one. He's gonna flash.
silence.
Ooh, what? That wasn't flash, I'm sorry. Crown block forward, though, and just turns back around.
But they zone them away from the minion wave that's flooding into the top side here. Meanwhile, this entire time, Kube's on the bottom side, also with a Baron buff, and Samsung slowly flows.
Now the second inhibitor taken with the turret gun. There's no reason to defend. SKT back to lick their wounds as Faker clears the bot lane. The rest of the team sits by the Nexus, cowering behind their structures for a bit of solace and defense. But Samsung Galaxy now 8 turret kills in. There is not much base left for SKT.
QA and the rest of Samsung trying to land a little bit of poke before they go for this turret here. Once again, SKT need a big engage, especially from Peanut on this Gragas, but there's no flash available. Lost it before when they also lost the Baron. Ruler, step forward.
But he's getting a few chunks into the turret. The perfect ultimate still, as you're mentioning, the thing SKT needs.
No QSS just yet here from Ruler. Still on cooldown. Vega can flash snare him and then they can try and chain him down, but there's a Janna next to him.
And they don't have much time to work with either, because Samsung have checked all the boxes. 2 inhibitors down and super minions making their way into the base. Now there's only maybe 1 more wave left of health on this bottom turret, and SK Telecom being pushed to the brink.
Ruler's played pretty much perfectly in terms of dodging away from the crowd control using Quicksilver Sash, Flash, or his ultimate, whichever one's exactly needed. Even knowing the ranges and sidestepping the skill shots when he needs to. This could be the one that the inhibitor turret falls, and if it does, SKT once again likely to retreat without a structure to fight back for them.
And QSS is now ready again on the side of Ruler. Peanuts flashes up, another big one for that potential fight. But Core JJ is so far back. Look at this, he's playing so safe. He knows he could be a target.
cannot be found. A few more attacks will knock down the inhibitor. The flash forward, looking for the play, not going to get anything for themselves. Goody blocks off a little bit. Here comes the Cataclysm, and it could be just that for SKT as they're forced to retreat the Realm Warp just to buy some time. The Quicksilver Sash gets rid of suppression, but it does mean the damage comes through. Two Nexus turrets left remaining as one kill has already come through. Samsung Galaxy hoping to knock down these bricks and build that foundation of greatness. Faker silence, the flash for the knockup, but no kill to come through just yet. The turrets fall, and the Nexus in front of their eyes as well, looking to snuff them out as another kill comes through. Kube transforms back, and Samsung Galaxy are one game away from greatness.
They can see the finish line, but so many teams have been up 2 games against SK Telecom and been unable to finish. Samsung have a lot of room to work with though, because this is actually a 2-0.
Exactly, it is very rare we see someone go up 2-0 against SKT. First game, they won the early game. Second game, they won the team fights. That really breaks your confidence. SKT right now might come into the third game completely changing up their plans, and that needs to work. Samsung are in full control at the moment.
3 back-to-back victories is what it would take for SK Telecom to continue their dynasty.
Yeah.
What an incredible ask, considering the way that these first 2 games went.
And the thing is, you can't count them out, despite how convincing these Samsung games have looked. We've seen SKT reverse sweep this split they did against the KT Rolster Super Team in the LCK playoff to get there. We know they can, but Samsung Galaxy, again, so close to snuffing that flame. Now to hear more about that game 2, we'll send it down to Dash and the analysts.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Last year, it was SK Telecom T1 that was up after the first